Howdy folks, welcome back to Dig Drive DIY. You know, 2 years ago now, I was in Menards and they had a sale. So I bought a Generac automatic whole house backup generator for our farmstead here. But for 2 years, that generator has remained in its packaging completely unopened. I hope to change that today. But because of the complicated nature of our electrical system here, you know, our meter base is inside this white building and we have 3 feeds going out from it. One to the house, one to the shop, and one to the barn. So it's complicated. It was gonna take some thought and foresight, and quite frankly I didn't put the time into making it happen until now, because the stars have aligned and I met the right guy. Kyle Spicer from Spicer Designs is here, and he has installed a bunch of generators. He's got the know-how and the experience to hopefully make this a little less challenging for me, and we have set aside 2 full working days to try to get this project completed, and I think we're going to need every minute of it, quite frankly, because this is a big project. But by the end of it, I hope we've got the peace of mind of having this standby backup power if the need arises. And also I could probably tell you whether or not I think this is a DIY type of install. Something tells me it's up there on the scale, if you know what I mean. So, all right, we've got to get to work and there is a lot to do.
Dig Drive DIY.
We live out in the country and most of the time it is smooth sailing. We've got a paved road, good internet, and reliable electricity. Most of the time. It only takes one blown transformer, ice storm, or a nearby tornado to knock out the power for hours or even days at a time. Yeah, we already have a backup generator to run the essentials when the power goes out, and we've relied on it many times, but it doesn't automatically start and switch the power over. It's all manual, so you have to be able to get home in a timely manner after the power cuts out in order to avoid disaster. Unfortunately, there's been a time or two when I didn't get the power back on, and yeah, this can get expensive really quickly. So having the luxury of a fully automatic whole house standby generator is an expensive investment, but it only takes one flooded basement to pay for it. And when you consider the fact that the cost of this system is about the same for us as our annual health insurance premiums, it seems well worth the investment to have something else that you essentially hope you never have to use. So we bought the generator when there was a little extra money in our piggy bank, and I've been crossing my fingers for the last 2 years that we wouldn't have a situation that made me really regret that it was still in the box. Fortunately, we've been lucky, but I know I'm pushing my luck. So when I met Kyle of Spicer Designs, I knew he had already had a great video about installing a backup generator. I asked him if he'd like to collaborate on my project, and as luck would have it, he agreed to do so. With an agreement and handshake in place, we began the planning of the project. And I must say, this is where the experience with this type of electrical install really shines through. Kyle had a checklist for materials that he typically uses, and after doing the initial inspection of our setup, he was able to outline in great detail what we'd need for the project. This is the first aspect of this job where I recognize the average homeowner attempting a DIY install is probably going to fall short, because not only do you need to have the electrical know-how to complete the work, you need to have the vocabulary and the knowledge of what all parts and pieces and materials you're going to need. Just knowing the wire sizes alone can get overwhelming when you're not familiar with it. So Kyle was able to make it easy with his shopping list for me, which I handed off to my electrician brother, and then he ordered all of it from a local supply house. Then I got busy with lots of other prep work that needed to be done well ahead of the install date. The generator runs on propane, and we don't have a tank close to the installation site, so I sourced a refurbished 500-gallon tank from a local Amish retailer. I was going to need a little bit of propane in the tank too prior to starting it and testing it, so I had to call and set up a time to have that filled as well, because I knew we weren't likely going to be able to have time to do it once the job was completed. It was probably going to be late. Next was to call before you dig. Anytime you dig in a developed area, you need to call 811 to mark any buried utilities. I also had to call out a private locator to mark our personal lines, because the folks from 811 only mark the member utilities. So Connor's here for me to mark the non-member utilities. There's 3 feeds coming out of that barn. He's finding them. I know that one comes up here like this and then turns and goes to the shop. And then there's one going to this barn, and there's one going to the house. Now I was sure we'd be digging around a lot of our buried electrical lines, so I reached out to an excavating friend of mine, and I was able to borrow his hydrovac trailer that would allow us to safely uncover and find the buried lines before hitting any of them with the backhoe. Speaking of the backhoe, I needed to do some prep work on that too before we could begin. So I welded a piece of flat steel to the teeth of my 1-foot bucket because I want to be able to cut the trench with a 1-foot bucket, but I want a smooth bottom. So I hate having teeth on there when you're trying to do precision work in the bottom. 7-inch piece of 3/8 plate and welded it to the teeth. If I ever need to take it off, I can either cut the welds or just pop the teeth off and take it right off. No big deal. The last thing I was responsible for was getting a load of stone to backfill the trench. That's my wheelhouse. So I figured it was time that the F750 went back to doing some real work duties. It's going to be the first trip with the old 750 here since I got her all done. Okay, I am on my way to the stone quarry for the first time since getting this truck repainted. I must admit, I'm a little bit nervous. You know, one thing is I don't know how those fenders are going to be in terms of how close to the tires once the truck is loaded with 10 tons of stone. I don't know how much stone they're going to drop all over the tailgate. That's just part of it. It's got to be done sometime. This might as well be the first.
We're all set. 73s are going to be the back corner along the railroad tracks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's the first time I've had it loaded, so I'm going to go out and check things out, make sure the fenders aren't rubbing. It's definitely lower. Oh, we got lots of room. So it's barely even squatting. We got tons of room in there, so no issues there. I got 9 ton on. All right, I'm going to get that little bit of stone off the tailgate right there. I'd rather have it go on the cab guard than over the back of the tailgate, so Tommy did a perfect job loading it. Now just to head back home. Get her dumped. All right, well, to bring you up to speed, we've made some changes from our original plan. I made a video a few weeks ago where Kyle came out and we made an assessment of the milk house and the electrical situation. We had originally planned to put the generator close to the milk house, so it was really close there to get into the meter base. And then we were going to put the propane tank over by the shop somewhere and trench a line across. Do you remember what the point of putting that milk house there in the first place was? It was to cover up an eyesore. The electrical meter base was on a janky board, and we built that shed around it just to cover it up and make things look nice. Kara has made a good argument in that she doesn't want the generator and the propane tank sitting there because it's the first thing you see when you pull in, and it's just not aesthetically pleasing. So I agree. We're going to move everything over here next to the shop. But for right now, I want to get the propane tank moved. I just brought it home, took it off the trailer, put it there next to the milk house. I'm going to move it over here once I get a little pad built and get that leveled off. I got to get the cart out of there, and just there's a lot to do before I can get started. All right, I moved all my garbage out into the middle of the driveway where everyone can see it. Makes me realize I need to get rid of all that stuff instead of keep moving it around every year. Propane tank is going to sit right here, generator in the corner, and then we're going to dig with a 1-foot bucket, hopefully, from here all the way over there to where those trash cans are. That's the plan anyway. And right on cue, as soon as I start wanting to work outside, it starts raining. It's gotten very cold. It's below 40 degrees, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow. Maybe I'll do a little bit today. I don't know. The heat's in the tools, my dad always says. I guess. All right, well, it's been 2 solid weeks of preparations. And yesterday I ran around all day getting more stuff ready to go. And finally today, Kyle is here. Kyle, thanks again for coming up. How was your drive?
It was not the greatest. I mean, there's other stuff I would have rather been doing. It wasn't bad though. I mean, it was early in the morning, not a lot of traffic. So. Yeah.
So it's here, it's early on a Thursday morning. We're gonna try to get as much done as we can today. And then we've got tomorrow as all the time we have. Then he's gotta be out of here. I gotta be done too. But Kyle gave me the list. I hope that I have everything that was on your list.
Looks good.
I've got some of the stuff taken care of for the propane tank and the generator install, but where do you think we should start? What do you think?
We have to wait for AEP to get here to pull the meter. because they're kind of finicky about that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I'll probably work inside the milk house on the meter and getting the transfer switch in. And as much fun as it might be for us maybe both to fit in there,
it's tight.
It's a little snug. So if you're able to maybe start clearing the stone out and prepping for that trench, I think that would be the most efficient way to tackle this thing.
Highest and best use of your time.
Yes.
You should always practice whatever you're the best at. So Kyle is going to get busy in here in the milk house. This is where our meter base is. And this is a limited room to work. I can't even hardly film in here. And then we're basically going to be replacing this right here. And we're going to be redoing this down here as well. This is where the feeds come in, and that needs fixed up. So we're going to make some improvements as well as install some new stuff. We've got all of our lines marked. That's the main feed coming in. I've crossed that before when I took a water line out to the shop, so I've crossed that. Here's the power going to the house. It's about 3 feet deep right here. And then we've also got power coming out the back here. Power comes out here, and the panel is right behind that sliding door. And then the other power comes up here, and it used to go to a large grain bin. There was a grain bin set up there where those concrete pads are. And we use that power to feed the shop. So we're going to cross it right here somewhere. Kyle is busy getting the transfer panel all knocked out and ready to go. I just put the 1 foot bucket on the backhoe. Got that all ready to go. And now I'm going to jump in the skid loader. I can't just randomly dig a trench across the driveway. I need to do a little prep work first, make it so it's a little bit cleaner and easier to put back after we're done digging. I hate digging up the driveway, but I'm going to love fixing it up afterwards. All right, so this is a great example of what the driveway might look like if I didn't have the clean washed stone on top. The washed, clean, dry stone on top allows the water to kind of lay underneath it and keep the surface dry, because right underneath you got a lot of moisture and gooey stuff, and that's why I use clean stone on top, so that it provides a layer on the very surface for you to walk around on and stay dry, and then all the moisture can reside underneath. So I'm pulling this all back in an effort to dig this trench and keep the dirt separated from the stone, and then when we're all done digging, I'll have this stone left over I can put back on top. We're going to fill it in with stone, but then I'll have some of my loose stones on top to fix it up, and I'll regrade everything. If I need to get more stone, I will, but right now I just kind of got my path established to dig this trench in here. All right, so the plan is we're gonna go into the back side of the milk house here. We got obviously wires that are coming out from the front. We're gonna try to tunnel and bore up underneath the floor. We've got about 4 feet that we have to tunnel under. And right now Kyle's cutting the floor out that's in there so that we can gain access to it. So this is gonna be a little tricky, but we'll see what we come up with. All right, this is an effort just to try to keep the side of the building from getting all splattered up, because it's gonna make a mess with that vac trailer. And this will just keep it from splattering, hopefully. Little time now, save a lot of time later, I hope. So we're making some progress now. Kyle has been tunneling underneath the milk house. I was gonna use that hydro excavation, the vac trailer. And originally I was gonna try to use that to get up underneath there, but we thought it was gonna create a big mess with the water and everything. So he just went after it with a shovel, and he's gonna have it done that way. I'm trenching now. We're at a safe distance from where we have our underground utilities marked, so I feel good about that. We are gonna have to cross it here in just a minute though, so I will use the hydrovac to try to find that line. But right now we're just trenching, keeping it 18 inches deep. I'm putting the spoils in the dump truck, and then we'll haul them out of here. There's a lot of gravel in it, but there's a lot of dirt too, so I'd just rather backfill it all with stone. I'm really trying hard not to hit the sideboard of the dump truck. That would not be fun on the first day here, but so far so good. So right where I'm digging right now, there's been a few places where the old concrete foundation from that barn that used to sit here was poking up through the driveway, and I was really worried that I was going to hit a concrete footer, but I think that I'm past it now, so I think it's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. Ah! Ah! We've gotten to the point where I'm getting close enough that in my next set I should encounter the feed that's going to the shop. And so we're going to take the vac here and try to locate it. We're going to go down to it, find out exactly where the wire is, and then we'll have a target. We'll be able to work around it a lot more comfortably. I could dig across it and look for it, but it's a lot of stress. It's a lot better when you can just find it ahead of time and then work around it knowing exactly where it is. Okay, I'm going to mark where I'm going to dig. And here's where I think the wire is, somewhere in here. This is a hydro excavation vacuum. We call it a vac trailer. It belongs to a good buddy of mine that has a big excavating company. He's got a few of these, and this was his spare, so he let me borrow it. So you put water in the holding tank up there, and it has an onboard pressure washer. The pressure washer goes to this wand right here. Okay, and then it has a suction hose. This is a big suction canister, and we're going to use this hose to suck up what we work up with the pressure washer. So you'll take the pressure washer and loosen up the soil, and that'll suck it up in there. It's like going to the dentist when they use the water pick and then they stick that hose in your mouth. That's what we're going to do. And then when you fill up the tank full of material, it'll fill up full of like slurry, you know, the wet muddy dirt that you suck up. Then you can dump it. It has a hydraulic cylinder. You open up the end gate and then you can raise it up and dump it out. All right, so we were able to find the cable down there. So the cable's 3 feet down there, but there's a brick right next to it, and I don't want that brick to damage the cable. So I'm gonna try to get that brick out of there, and then we should go right over the top of it. So I'm gonna dig, stay at my 18 to 20 inches, and we should miss the cable no problem. Let's see if we can do this surgery here. This is like a operation. We have a perfectly sized, brick-sized hole. There it is. Vac worked good. We're gonna pack it up and continue digging. All right, so we are safely past the underground feed to the shop. I feel really good about getting past all that. Like pretty much the risky stuff is over. When I get over here, I am gonna be working over the top of my boiler lines that come from the outdoor wood boiler and feed the heat exchanger unit that's in my shop. But that I know is really deep. It's like 4 feet deep. So I don't think there's any risk there. I just got to make it around the corner and back to the generator location. I've completely forgot about my Ethernet cable that I've got routed from the house all the way around to the shop. I dealt with this when we dug the pond and was able to avoid cutting it. And for some reason I completely forgot about it being routed through here. It was only about 6 inches below the surface. But fortunately I was digging pretty softly and gingerly, and I caught it right here. I had it buried in garden hose, and I caught it right there and pulled it out. But I think I had enough slack inside the box and right here that I just disturbed it, and I'm hopeful that we can put it back and it'll be all fine. But even when you install the things, you forget what's buried underground. I should have known that was there, but we'll work with it. I think it's okay. We have dug our trench all the way to where our generator location is going to be, and right now I'm extending the trench so that we can run the propane line over to the propane tank, which is going to sit right about here, the end of this trench. So now the only thing left to do is dig a little stub over to where the generator is going to sit, and then I got to dump that dump truck. That thing is really full. I'm putting her to the test. So I think that's about as full as it's going to get, and the fenders look like they're not rubbing, so we're all clear there. They've got the power out now. The power is disconnected, so Kyle's working inside the milk house to set the transfer switch, and he's redoing some of our connections that were in need of some repair. So he's going to keep working in there. He's going to try to get as much as he can done while the power is out. So Kyle was able to, he was able to shut the power off with the main disconnect for our house so that he could redo the electrical connection box down below, because it had some split lugs that were nasty and had put a hole in the front of our box.
Here is the old one, which was like kind of almost like an old Crosby kind of a split bolt. And then we got these for 3/0, which was my mistake. They're actually 4/0 aluminum, so we now have the correct ones.
And so we replaced the old junky one that had kind of, it basically had corroded through or arced through its tape.
Right here is where it arced.
He's got that redone. Power's back on. Everybody's happy. So now we can finish up our plumbing job. I got a load of dirt to dump. All right, that didn't go too bad for as wet as it's been. We were able to get in there and dump that. I will probably, I'm either going to use it here across the road in my wood yard, or I'll haul it out when I get a chance, but at least it's out of the way and not going to cause any problems there. We can scoop it up later. It's nice to be able to just get it out of the truck. All right, so we are in the final stages of getting the conduit put in. Kyle's getting it wrapped around there to where the generator is going to sit, and then we also have to run the copper line. I'm going to run in a PEX tubing as a conduit for that as well. And then we've got it backfilled. The conduit is backfilled in random places throughout the trench to kind of hold it down in place. Once we get everything set, then we'll fill her in, right? Backfill it. That's the word I'm looking for. We're going to put in some caution tape above the buried conduit. It's pretty close to the surface, but this will mark the line, so if somebody starts digging in here, it'll give them warning that there's something below. So this is not required, but it's just a nice practice for somebody in the future. All right, it's 8 p.m. I think we made some pretty good progress today. All the conduit's in, copper line's buried. We're backfilling right now. I'm just going to fill up this trench. About time for a break. We'll pick it back up tomorrow morning. Well, we are back out here. It's a new day. First thing I want to get done is backfilling this trench. I'm going to compact it a little bit with the backhoe first, run over it with the tires, and smash it down so that it has less settling that it can do over time. So some of you may be wondering, why did I do it this way? Why did I strip all those stones off the top? Why did I put all the dirt from the trench in the dump truck and haul it away? If you dig something like this in a driveway and you try to put the dirt back in, first of all, if you put the dirt on the stones, the dirt winds up everywhere. It'll be in your driveway for a long, long time, unless you can get it all back in the trench, which you can never do. So dirt in a driveway remains dirt in a driveway. It doesn't get washed away with the rain like people think. If you drop a dirt clod in your driveway, that dirt remains there. That's been my experience. So I like to get the dirt out of the driveway so it's not a future problem with being muddy. Number two, I backfill with stones so that it can pack down into the trench and hopefully mitigate the dip that you're going to inevitably create from trenching through your driveway. So if you put in stone in there, you can pack it in. It'll continue to go down over time. As traffic goes across it, you'll create a dip in the driveway, but that'll eventually level out and be solid again. Whereas if you put dirt in there, it takes it a long time for it to actually settle out. You know, the water has to get through all that dirt and settle over time. I'm gonna try to get the driveway buttoned up so we can get in and out of here a little bit better again. And then we'll resume with the generator pad, the propane pad, and then Kyle's got a lot of work to do in the milk house yet. So currently Dad is on his way to get the wire now that we have everything installed, the pipe and the transfer switch inside the milk house. We can get an accurate length for wire that we need. So he's ran to the supply house to get that. We basically have to the end of the day and we got to get this done. So we are running out of time. It always takes longer than you think. We allotted 2 days for this and we are going to use 2 full days if we get it done. Oh yeah. This one's a little, paver must be thinner. It's the only way. All right, so it's nice that I've had help. My dad was helping all day yesterday. My brother was here last night helping, and they have an interest because, as some of you may know, they are both electricians. My dad retired as an electrician in 2010, and my brother is still an electrician, but he works at a hospital now, so he's not involved in day-to-day electrical work. And some have asked in the comments of the previous video that I talked about, why aren't you having your dad or your brother help you do this? That's a fair enough question, but the answer is they don't really do this. You know, they've never, I don't think either one of them. My brother Nate may have helped install a generator once, but my dad I don't think has done it. And Kyle was an expert in that field. All tradesmen usually specialize in some sort of area in their trade. So an electrician, there's a lot of facets of electrical work. There's home electricians that just do new home construction. There's industrial electricians that work in giant factories and work with 3-phase and all different types of current and, you know, panels, and there's a wide variability. Some electricians just work at one facility their entire career. So Dad and Nate were not disappointed that I didn't ask them to help me install this. I try to do a lot of DIY stuff, and there's aspects of this I can DIY, so I'm doing what I know. When it comes to stuff like wiring in that transfer switch or rewiring the main feeds that go to your house or your outbuildings, that's something where you really want somebody that knows what they're doing. In case in point, the way those splices were made up previously as compared to the way they're made up now. That's also a difference in materials, but as you can see from our situation and our layout, everything is completely different. There is no one standard. Unless it's new construction and you know exactly what you're working with, all these older homes and these retrofit jobs are going to be basically specialized, and you gotta figure them out and adapt as you go. We've ran for parts 3 different times now. We've had to pivot and change what we thought we were going to do based on what we've discovered, and it's all just a constant work in progress. And that's how I would encourage you to approach any DIY project. Go in with the best plan that you can and try to limit any surprises, but it is inevitable. You are going to have surprises, especially when you're working with a house that was built in the 1800s and it's been added onto ever since. All right, there's still a lot been going on. I had to run for more stuff from town. Had to get a different regulator set up, and I also had to go to Menards once again, but we're back now. Kyle's gotten a lot of work done in the milk house. Nearly has the power turned back on. Dad's here now. We're going to start pulling some wire. All right, so we got it all the way through. It pulled a little hard, I guess, for Kyle, but it was easy on my end. I don't know what his problem is, but we got it. Now it's up to him to get it all hooked up. Was everything past your inspection?
Looks good.
You're my electrical consultant, so. And you're not.
As long as he's got some sticking out there and you got some sticking out here, everything's good.
We're good. I talked to Nate. He wasn't disappointed that I didn't ask him to do this.
Huh.
Are you disappointed I didn't ask you to do it?
Oh yeah, really, I am. I like the way I work it now.
Yeah, supervisor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got to catch a ball game.
Yep.
We're gonna keep going. You can come back and look at it when it's all done.
All righty.
Thank you, Dad. We are making up some flared ends and getting this all connected up. Already put one on. Already put a flare nut on there. I'm going to use a flaring tool to flare the end of the pipe so that we can thread it into the regulator. So I've got the regulator connected to the main valve through this pigtail. This is high pressure. This should take it down to 10 PSI, I believe. And so we're gonna flare this. You wanna leave it stick up about 1/8 of an inch, about like so. And you got this little press with a point on it. Goes in the center. You don't want to go too tight, you can crack the copper. Okay, that's got a nice flare on it there, see that? All right, there we are. Hopefully that doesn't leak. Kyle has got everything connected up in here. I had to run to Napa to get a battery. I didn't have that on camera, but that was another trip. I've been talking about, you know, DIY versus hiring a professional, and would a professional make so many trips to the hardware store? Or how do you not do that?
Well, if you have if you're doing it every day, you probably got a truck with service truck with, you know.
Yeah, and you wouldn't.
And I don't have that anymore, so it's.
You got a hardware store on wheels, so we just make trip after trip, but we're getting there. I think I see the light. It is 7:10 p.m. I've been out here since at least 7:10 a.m. and we are hopefully drawing a close to this. We still want to see it run today. These are the new lugs that he installed for all the joints. That looks so much better. There's probably less of a risk of it sparking and arcing against the cover. Here's all of his installation of the wires for the generator. He's got the new feed coming from the meter. He also added this panel, a little sub feed for, one of them is going to my barn over there, the granary, and then the other ones are feeding this little building here. Gas line's mounted. PVC's got a nice flex tube over to the connection. Obviously you want a little flex there between your rigid mount gas line or your rigid conduit so that the generator can frost heave up and down, and it's going to vibrate, so that way you don't break anything. Looks good. All right, we're ready to purge some propane, right? LP. Final connections right here. There's a switch right here. This generator can run on natural gas or LP, or propane. And so
it's easy. You just got to turn that valve and that's it. Just to go from natural gas to propane.
Okay, here's what I've been doing for the last 15 minutes is trying to set up the Wi-Fi on the app and get the generator connected. I didn't know the generator was that smart, but it's got to connect to the Wi-Fi apparently to register and work. Okay, we got it set. Current date, time.
Exercise time set for bi-weekly, Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
Yep. It'll run for about 15 minutes every other Tuesday and exercise the engine and try to keep things fresh. You don't want it to sit around for months at a time and not ever start, because then when you need it, it may not start. Okay, it is officially 8:15 on a Friday. We've been at it for 2 solid days, but we finally arrived at the moment. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Moment of truth.
He's still going to try to drive home tonight. He's got a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
And it's 8:15. Plus, we've got pizza to eat before I'll let him leave. So, all right, I want to see this thing fire up.
Yeah, I think it's still a little. It still needs a little bit more of a purge.
Okay, only thing left is to actually try it out. So he's got to kill the power at the main, and then hopefully that generator will take over. So we're going to walk over to the milk house, kill the power on the new switch, and then see if that starts. So we should hear the generator fire up. There it went.
It works.
Wow.
Neil, I'll be honest. I lied to you. I've never installed a generator in my life. I wasn't sure if it was going to work.
I could tell by the way you were doing everything, you had no idea what you were doing.
Yeah, I hope
But you got lucky,
yeah,
because it works. We're standing here and I'm watching that the house lights are back on, and we're ready for
Pizza?
I'm ready for pizza, but we're ready for that next power outage. This is one of those things where I'm going to be super stoked to have it, but just as happy if we never use it.
Yeah.
Knuckles?
Come on.
Come a long way. Make sure you check out Kyle's channel.
Make sure you check out Neil's channel.
All right, well, it's 10:05 p.m. We finally
boy.
got our belly full. I'm glad to be done, though. That was a heck of a lot of work. I mean...
It was a lot of work.
And we kind of knew it would be.
Yeah.
But it's just like my wife always says, if you plan on it taking a day, plan on 2.
Yeah.
We counted on 2. And if we were doing this like as a contractor, it would have taken more because we put in like 2 12-hour days.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it would have been drawn out. And to address the question whether or not this is a DIY project or not, I would have to say no, based on the experience I've had now of seeing what you did with the amount of knowledge you already had prior to it. It's something that my dad could have helped with or my brother could have helped me with, and we could have accomplished. And that's not to say that anyone could tackle this with the right amount of Googling help, but there's some real professional aspects of this project. So,
yeah. I mean, that's your incoming power. I mean, that's everything before it even hits your house. There's a lot of potential there for danger and safety issues. It's definitely not something that you want to take on if you don't have any electrical experience. And
we had to have the power company disconnect the meter, and there's just a lot you have to be mindful of. So I'm just really grateful that there was a DIY component of it that I could do, like the digging and lay the conduit.
You did a lot.
And there's always aspects like that to any project where you could do some of it yourself, maybe save some money, but you have to know your limitations, and that's why I had Kyle here. So I'm very grateful for you doing it, man.
I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed working with you and getting to meet your brother Nate, and working with your dad was awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed jobs like this.
Yeah.
It was fun.
These are fun projects, and I was just glad you're here. So if you haven't already, I know Kyle was in a video a couple weeks ago leading up to this one, but check out Spicer Designs on YouTube. He's got a lot of great projects he's working on. Like I said before, a talented guy that knows his stuff too. So
thanks, Neil.
What else going on right now on your channel?
I do have a lot of good stuff coming. I just about to finish up the Ultimate Welding Cart, which has been a really good build series. And then I'm going to be starting the build series on the wood splitter project. I'll be converting a box store splitter to a vertical style splitter.
Ooh.
That one, a lot of people are interested in.
Yeah.
I'm excited to use it because I got a lot of wood to split. And then I have some other good stuff coming as well this summer. So.
Nice. Do me a favor and check it out, because he did me a tremendous favor with this project. And we've got the peace of mind in having a generator now. Obviously hoping we never have to really use it, but it'll be really sweet if we do. So.
And thanks to everyone that did come over after that first time.
Yeah.
Neil's got an amazing audience that watches this channel, so
I agree with
that.
A
lot of great comments and a lot of nice people. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You better get headed home here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long. I'm already tired right now.
Well, if you get tired, you need to pull over and call someone. Just don't call me. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. I got some cleaning up to do yet, and I'll show you what it all looks like when I get done. Okay, it's been a day or two, and we are trying to button this project all up. I've got a task for the girls. I'm going to see if they can tackle it. This is a test. We need to paint this pipe down here, the black pipe that's connected between the regulator and the generator. And so this is the regulator that controls how much propane is being sent into the engine. And this black pipe will rust, especially these places where we had to polish it up. So I don't want paint on this. I don't want paint on the barn. I just want the pipe painted black, and I don't want any paint on anything else. Okay. Think you can do that?
Yeah.
All right, let's do an inspection. Oh boy. Okay. Now remember, when you paint, you're gonna have paint going in every direction. So I think that all this needs covered right here, because you're gonna be painting this pipe and it's gonna overspray over this way. So I would take a whole nother piece of cardboard and cover it out to here. All right, when you're going to use spray paint, you want to put it on in light, even coats and not get it too thick because it'll run all over. And with this, you're going to have to get every different angle on this. You're going to have to be upside down, sideways, in behind, and you might want to grab another piece of cardboard to kind of help shield the wind. You want to go ch, ch, ch. All right, the girls are working on painting that pipe. I'm going to try to backfill this thing. We can put these rocks back on the inside, on top. So I'm going to get that filled up as best I can, and then we can button this up. I can't wait to grade. All I want to do is grade the driveway. Everything is back to normal. Looks like it did last week. Still got that, but we're all better. I'm gonna call that in there, done. Time for the cleanup crew to come in and mop the floor and tidy up. I'm gonna tidy the driveway and get that all dialed in. Before I jump on Bruno, I gotta check in to see how the paint job turned out. Afterwards, we debated on whether or not we should have painted it black. Maybe we should have painted it gray to match everything else, but it's just fine. That looks really good. Good job, girls. First time really trying to do that stuff, and they did a great job. So that'll keep it from rusting for a few days anyway. Okay, time for the best part. All right, well, that was a huge project, and we are so thankful that it's done. That is some peace of mind knowing that we can be away from home, and if the power goes out, the generator will kick on and hopefully keep our basement dry, keep the freezers frozen. You know the deal, right? It's expensive, but it's just one of those investment things and one of those insurance policies that you just bite the bullet and do it. Kyle, thanks so much for making the trek up here to help me do it. He spent 2 full days away from his family, and he did a great job. Thanks to my dad and my brother for helping out during the course of this project. Thanks to Trent for helping film and do some editing. Thanks to the girls for painting the pipe. I really appreciate it. And thanks to Kara for putting up with all this. This was probably one of my longest videos too, I think. But now all there is left is to thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you coming along and following on these videos and these projects. You know, if you're interested, we've got some of the new sweatshirts and t-shirts available on the merch website. I'll link it down below if you're inclined to check them out. Otherwise, I just want to thank you so much for clicking on this video. It means a lot to me. I hope that you liked it. And if I'm lucky, I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.